This topic is so crucial. Lord Krishna summarizes the whole Bhagavad Gita very carefully, which started that sannyasa, that there are three types of sannyasa. When Arjuna asked the question about sannyasa and tyaga. After that he got into this new chapter where he thought of summarizing many factors, because with Arjuna's question chapter was completed, but he thought no, why not to discuss few more points. First he brought that there are three types of karta. First jnana, there are three types of knowledge. Then karma, karta, then comes buddhi. We have seen the last of buddhi. So buddhi means intellect. And all these are being divided into three based on gunas, which we have seen earlier chapters 2, as this is the summary. So guna guneshu vartante iti. Now this verse number 33, because up to 32 we have seen it. In verse number 33, he wants to introduce this dhruti. So dhruti we call as, let us say, will power. There is a will power. Because we need intellect, also we need willpower. So intelligence and willpower must go together. That's why we say everybody cannot become Vedantic student. Just because attending few Vedanta classes or regularly attending Vedanta classes, one need not become a student. So you can see here very carefully. This verse number 33 talks about Sattvic dhruti, Sattvic willpower. So let us read first, then we'll go ahead. Dhrutya yaya dharayate mana pranendriya kriya yogena vyabhicharinya dhruti sa partha sattviki. Says that dhruti, O Partha, that dhruti is called Sattvic dhruti. So what is that? So before getting into dhruti or willpower, let us discuss what is the role of this dhruti willpower, especially for Vedantic student. Actually, if you observe, sometimes a Vedantic student misunderstands the role of dhruti, overemphasizes the fate, the prarabdha. Actually, sometimes they highlight, anyway, whatever is supposed to happen, let it happen. And moreover, in ashrams also I have seen, they will highlight very nicely that, this is the last thing to happen, that we are supposed to be Swami, we are supposed to be in ashram, we are supposed to be in this, we are supposed to be in that. And they think as though it is predetermined. And if you really look at this way, that everything is a predetermination, that means you don't have to be in Vedanta class. You are already not Pahunch Gaya Mahatma, you are above that. So you are already enlightened. One has to be very carefully look into this. Because when we say the prarabdha means what? The karma that predominantly I have done in previous life or this life. It's a mixture. And if that is called prarabdha, prarabdha does not decide my future. But prarabdha influences my future. You have to be very clear. Again, I am repeating carefully. Prarabdha does not decide my future, but definitely it influences my future. So when I understand that it influences my future, now I take the help of willpower. And through the willpower only, I'll be able to grow. I'll be able to decide. I'll be able to, continue, or else I'll fluctuate. Today one thing, tomorrow another thing, every moment one thing. Because after all, what is supposed to happen will happen. You understand the concept? That's why we also say very carefully that only a religious person, means the one who has lived the life in a religious way, is supposed to look at Vedanta, is supposed to be a spiritual person. Because there you need both. Need to accept prarabdha, face prarabdha, then also understand the importance of willpower. There are people, those who only believe in willpower. We'll be seeing later on why and how. But one thing one has to understand, prarabdha is not uniform. So when prarabdha is not uniform, as my karma is not uniform, how can be the result of karma will be uniform? And moreover, it is unknown to me. I need to look at my prarabdha carefully. That's why we use prarabdha differently in different occasions, and broadly we do divide prarabdha into three categories, even though there are many ways, but broadly three categories. The prarabdha that is very complicated, like a disease. Disease is also part of prarabdha, okay? So there are diseases, both physical and mental, okay? So there are, because mental disease is more powerful than physical disease. Because you can deal with a physical diseased person, but mental patient you cannot handle. Only you have to keep quiet. However, very nicely you have to say this point, that when we look at diseases, especially if you go to the doctors, they will say, look, nothing can be done. Take back the patient to your home. Pray, take care of Other than that, nothing to be done. So that means the disease is in a last stage, very chronic. Nothing much can be done. There are also diseases, doctor will say, look, it is complicated, but it can be managed. It can be under check. Best example is your cholesterol, BP and whatnot, okay? Diabetic. So for a long time there are disorders that you have created, but don't worry. With the tablets, with your lifestyle, exercise, you can control, it will be under control. It may improve, sometimes it will go up, down, that will happen. Don't worry. This is another type of disease. Third type of disease sometimes maybe appear as very complicated, but they say, don't worry, we'll do operation or we will give you medicine, you continue this thing, it will be completely cured. As we look at this disease into three categories, so also prarabdha we look at broadly into three categories. So there are prarabdha, what we call as a prabala prarabdha. There we are almost helpless. But when we are helpless, we must, as doctor advises, don't worry, take back. Pray God, give attention to the patient, take care of it. Means the other people must be aware that this is what is happening. So when I am in the influence of prabala prarabdha, I must be aware of it. What is happening to me? Not completely succumb to it is not allowed. Can you see? This needs your willpower. That's why we have some examples. Like we come across one example about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, that he was having cancer. So okay, operation time, okay, no problem, you can cut it. So he was aware that he was having cancer. Of course, they interpret it differently. That's not our point here. So point is very clear. When I go through prabala prarabdha, or when I am under the influence of prabala prarabdha, that's a better word, I must be aware of it. So when I am aware of it, at least I will not make more complication. And secondly, when I am kosi in between, I have to be more alert, more careful. Can you see this point? Suppose I am having diabetic, but my tongue will force me, my mind will force me. Very sweet. Night also people open the fridge and eat, okay? And when I am having cholesterol, where is the snacks? Let me munch. Now there I need to be more disciplined. So also my prarabdha. In fact, most of the time, all Vedantin students are in medium prarabdha, okay? Because when the first category, when you are serious, straight away you go to a Swami, you take a surrender, okay? As long as you are not. That's why in India, many Swamijis are available, or many ashrams or many temples are available just for the first category. Serious, you go, take blessing, everything will be cleared. Then forever they became, servant or take diksha and stay there or get associated. But in Vedantic case, I would like to say, a Vedantic student comes under this medium one. That means the person has to be more and more alert. So that's why I opened my statement that Vedanta is not a time pass. Whenever, whatever you want to do is not going to work. So if this is the case, I need to understand this knowledge. For that, I need to prepare myself. Unless I am a Yogya Purusha, unless and until I am prepared, Vedanta is not going to work. Like once a person especially comes to Vedanta, is very capable of finding others' fault. Everybody does that. Because it is very easy to see others' fault. Because earlier you did not know anything, now you have knowledge with you. You understand? Who is doing right, who is not doing? Of course, when somebody does right, you don't appreciate, but when somebody does wrong, that you see first. And your approach first is towards wrong, negativity. Hey, that is not Vedantic approach at all. And there are people, even they do the wrong, they avoid. They ignore. That is their worst. So, it's up to you people. What is being highlighted here is that Vedanta presupposes, or Vedantic study presupposes yogyata in me, preparedness in me. Whether I am yogyam or not. I remember in our childhood in Odisha, they used to say, hey, ayogya. This fellow, they said, ayogya means they use useless, okay, not prepared. Because if they say not prepared, then we'll ask 100 questions. Useless. So here, when I look at whether I am yogyam or not yogyam, that means every time I start looking at me, I start asking question to myself, not to others. Can you see this point? I think with this background, let us look at this verse, okay? So that becomes more comfortable, convenient. So he says, Sa partha satviki iti, satviki dhruti iti. O partha, that dhruti, willpower, is called sattvic. And what is that? He says, look, dharayate iti, yaya dhrutya dharayate. It's very nice, that point. So dharayate means one sustains. So you can say, with which willpower or resolve one sustains. So what does one sustain? You can ask the question. Here it is not there. So one is able to sustain to be in moksha marga. So I am able to sustain myself to be in the path of moksha, not dharma, artha, kama. Can you see this point very carefully? So that's why he says very carefully, when for me moksha is important, and that moksha, not what Purana talks, what religious people talk, going to heaven. But I know I am moksha swarupaha. Now, I need that resolve, that willpower. And what I need to do here? He says, look, manaha, prana, indriya, kriyaha. So these are to be, with the help of this thing, this resolve to be sustained. Because always our willpower or resolve gets distracted. By what? Sometimes by our mind. You know better. So morning you decide something, okay, especially before going to bed, you decide to get up tomorrow morning. Then what happens? Poor calling bell rings, you stop it. And you know better. And this sort of people, once you have said something, you cannot change your words. That's why we say very carefully, the one who cannot protect his or her word, that person cannot understand what is truth. It is impossible. However, here he says, manaha, prana, indriya. So indriya, kriya means both. Karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. So that means organs of actions and organs of perceptions. Prana, 5 pranas, mind. So in short, he wants to say this much very carefully, that the mind keeps fluctuating. The prana also keeps fluctuating. And of course, our sense organs are engaged differently. But he says, that is, be very carefully, one has to be careful, need to have understanding of yoga, yogena, abhyabhicharina yogena, means undeviating yoga, not fluctuating at all. So I need to be careful to engage my mind in such a way, to engage my sense organs in such a way, to engage all my organs of actions in such a way, so that my mind is not deviated from moksha marga. Is it clear? So that means constantly I am alert about myself. Like we say that including which book I read. Nowadays there is nobody reads book. So which social media I spend more time. That is better word, okay? So whether I spend some time in LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, you understand the concept? There are many other things, let us not get in. Whether I am old fashioned, so okay, I know this much, okay, old. Because, please understand, you can see youngsters, they are more busy in Instagram. When a person is busy in Instagram, the mind will be fickle. The person will become restless. There is no choice. If you spend more than half an hour in Instagram in a day, you are gone case, I am sorry to say. Mind will not work, mind will be so restless, you can't handle it. Because that impact is so much. So here is being highlighted. So in order to sustain this Sattvic dhruti, I need to focus myself. That focus must not deviate. Undeviating focus. So that means I need to yogena. So yogena, you can say by the practice of yoga. So here yoga, you can take it as Ashtanga yoga, not necessarily karma yogena. But safely we can take as Ashtanga yoga, Ashtanga yogena iti. That means yama, niyama, adi. What happens in the process? When a person starts spending time in this way, now slowly discovers many things falls apart. You don't have to get rid of anybody. You don't have to do anything. People, object will fall apart. And when people, things falls apart, you will see the growth. But when people things falls apart, if there is a void, there is emptiness, that means something is seriously wrong in you. When something falls apart, it is exactly like, nail. I'm giving you nail example, not hair example, okay? So when nail breaks, what do? You cut and throw it. Do you do that or not? Generally you do it, okay? You don't put a paste and somehow make the nail stay, unless you are somebody. Whereas with reference to hair, if it falls down, you know how crazy you become, okay? Oh God, I don't have any more hair. This shampoo, that shampoo. Every man and woman after 40s, 50s, only one thought bogs them: how to have more hair. In fact, somebody told me, very nicely, with this I should stop today. Somebody said, Swamiji, I want to come to you, but unfortunately I have done some hair plantation. So I didn't understand what is plantation. I know this thing. So there is something hair to be planted, okay? So this is called land. So in that land you have to plant the hair, okay? So I have done some hair plantation. So for few days I cannot expose myself. So will you be here in Odisha for some more time so that I will be able to see? I said, I wanted to say, you want to see me or you want to show your hair plantation? So in short, when things falls down, when people fall down, yes, we need to allow it. It's like, hair falls down. Of course, you have to make sure when hair falls down, it should not fall in wrong places. Especially, for your kind information, if you have dandruff, that fellow falls down everywhere. And if you have put one black coat, and in a program, if that fellow falls down, you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that it should not fall down in wrong place. You understand? So also the hair, while eating, hair falls down, is not allowed. But at the end of the day, it has to fall down. Let it fall down. So that's why that dhriti is called Sattvic. If this is the case, then what is Rajasic? Let us chant. Yeyato dharma kamarthan dhrutya dharayate arjuna prasangena phalakankshi dhriti sa partha rajasi. So this is going to be talked. So what is actually this Rajasic Dhriti, which will be seen tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.